light painting. The effects are so cool. It's surprisingly easy to do. In this episode, I'm going to take you step by step on how to create all of these effects. Hi, I'm Charles. Welcome to Onomatopoetix. This episode is called Light Painting Videography Techniques. Light painting, like many of the subjects of my recent episodes, is something that I've wanted to do since the beginning. It's tremendous fun to do. There are a lot of different types of light painting. You can find examples on YouTube of just about every type. Some people are so gifted at this. I am an absolute amateur, but I had tremendous fun. I'm going to take you step by step through how I created a series of videos that led up to the visualization in this episode. Light painting can be done in a number of ways. The most common way that you find on YouTube and on the web is in still photography. And there are people who make their living and sell products specifically for doing light painting in still photographs. Those of you who watch this channel know I do everything in motion. And there are people who do videography light painting. Some that sell products for this as well, sell software in order to do it in real time. The way I'm doing it is with all things that I created myself. There are no special tools. This is something that pretty much anyone can do. So let's talk about some of the requirements that you're going to need in order to do this type of light painting. First thing you're going to need is a video camera where you can control the shutter speed. It works best if you can slow down the shutter speed to its slowest setting. On the camera that I used on this JVC LS300, it went down to 1/7.5 of a second, which is quite long for a video camera. You also need an area that is almost completely dark, and I'll explain some of that as we're going through it. This is part of the reason why this episode took a little longer than usual to do, because searching for areas that are completely dark is more difficult than you might think. Then you're going to need some light sources, and we'll get into those in a second. You're also going to need some editing software. In this case, I'm using Adobe Premiere, and I'm using an effect called Time Echo. Those of you familiar with this series know I use Time Echo quite frequently. It's a very useful effect for the types of end results that I'm looking for. So, as far as the light sources, there were just a few. Nothing terribly expensive. Some that I had, some that I bought specifically for this episode. One that I used only on one of the shorts, on the one called House, is just a regular laser pointer. And you can see the effects of what this did right here. Essentially, I traced elements of my house with the laser pointer, with the shutter speed, as I said, set to the lowest setting, and then I used the Time Echo filter to make that effect more pronounced, and played around with a little bit of editing to achieve what you see. I decided that I really wanted to be a little bit more ambitious with the light sources than just the laser pointer, and I created this. It's essentially a lightsaber. It's made of a very bright, small flashlight. In this case, it's called a Maglite XL50, which happens to fit perfectly in this reinforced rubber tubing. I'm not quite sure what the actual use for this is, but it happens to fit snugly right in the end, which is perfect. And when you turn it on, not only does it illuminate the actual material, but the reinforcing, which looks very good on camera. Now, I capped the end because I didn't want the light pointing out, and I used a PVC fitting, which I then spray painted flat black on the inside and screwed into the end because I didn't want this to be brighter than the rest of it. And there's my lightsaber. The only other light that I used were these multicolored LED glow sticks, which come with their own clips, which I added onto this larger metal clip, which I then tied string to, which I can swing. I also used these independently and just threw them into the air. You'll see that a little later in the episode. Leading up to the creation of the visualization for this episode, I created 3 shorts. One was called House, which I did with a laser pointer. One was called Yoga Room. And the third was called Driveway. In Yoga Room and Driveway, I created a kit of parts, or a toolkit maybe, that I could use to layer and create the visualizations. So using the light sources that I just showed, I created some techniques that I repeated through these episodes, and I've given them names. So the first technique is called fence, with or without posts. In the iPhone footage, you can see what I'm actually doing in real time, although the iPhone is picking up a bit more light than even our eyes saw. When you look at the footage from the JVC, which I have set to low light and slow shutter, the effect is considerably different. And then when you bring it into Adobe Premiere and add the time echo effect, which here is repeating at 1/10 of a second 50 times. There are 2 things in particular that help create the looks of the videos shown in this episode. And they are the time echo effect and the layering of individual segments through the use of the blend mode called Lighten. Here is the untreated footage. And then that same footage with the time echo effect applied. As I mentioned before, the echo time is 1/10 of a second, and the number of echoes in this case is 50, which I find is a nice length for the look that I'm going for. Here I'm explaining how you create the fence with posts, but really it serves as an example for the effect you can get by layering the various segments. So again, we'll start out with the untreated footage of me going around and picking the locations. And then we apply the time echo, and in this case tinted as well. You can see what that looks like here. In order to make the fence posts persist, you're going to go to each location where you planted one, save that as a screen grab, overlay it, move to the next one, save that as a screen grab, overlay it, and so on. Once you've done all of them, you can put them in place. Here I have already created the whole effect, and I'm just turning it off in order to explain. But the real importance here is that the opacity, the blend mode, is set to lighten. This is why it's so important to have a dark environment so that your light sources are easily isolated. Another technique, this one I named carpet, is essentially the same thing without picking points, and you're just carrying the wand either horizontally or vertically, vertically for a fence, horizontally for carpet. You keep it a consistent distance and hold it steady, and this is the effect. You can also waver it back and forth to create a undulating carpet. This effect I called orbits because it can achieve a number of different things, including a globe and a lasso. This uses the 3 colored LED light sticks, which I swing it around. This is what it looks like to the JVC. And this is what it looks like when you apply that same time echo effect with the same settings. You can also go freeform with any of these light sources. This is what it looks like when you're doing that in real time. It can create some incredibly beautiful effects. And this is what it looks like when you're using the glow sticks off of the ring and you just throw them into the air and allow them to bounce. It doesn't look like much when you're doing it in real time. Even with just the slow shutter speed, the effect is already noticeable, but not nearly as much as when you add the time echo effect and you get these incredibly beautiful streaks. And I really wanted to thank my friend Jeremy for not only providing the location for this shoot, but for helping me execute some of the light painting itself, especially here doing the lightsaber battle. So that gives you a good idea of all the components that make up the visualization. So let's look at the finished product. So that's the visualization. I hope you enjoyed it. I had tremendous fun doing it. I know I say that all the time, but in this case, I really do mean it. I'm definitely going to revisit this subject matter again because there are avenues left unexplored and it's just too good to leave alone. Anyway, be well. I'll see you again real soon. Thanks for watching.